box. What's in the box, you might be asking? What's in the box is something that has cost more money than my entire car cost to build initially. Just ponder that for a minute. And get excited for what is going to be the biggest upgrade to my car ever. Flat out, no questions asked. And what do we have here? That's a Samsonas sequential. Damn right. If you don't know what a sequential is, it pretty much means we've gone from a pretty basic car to a pro car in about one step. Can't really be calling me car basic after this, but we've been having issues with our gearbox for a while now, as you would have seen in a lot of videos. And I'm kind of sick of it. So we are now stepping up to the moon, skipping every step in between and going all out. And this car is going to be a completely different car to drive. Hopefully, zero mechanical issues at all. Like these boxes are rated 1300 horsepower, which is, you know, only 100 more than the SR's making, of course, but she should be safe for that. It comes with lots of bits that we need to make work. It doesn't just bolt in, of course. But the most exciting thing, just fucking bang, 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 bang. God, I can't wait to put this in. I don't have a lot of words, but I'm very excited. So, it is a 6-speed sequential dog box. So basically there's no synchros in just about any sequential that I know about, but it means we're going to be able to bang gears at any RPM and it is going to grab a gear no matter what. There is no missing gears like we've had in our other gearbox. Given the abuse that we actually put through it, it should be more reliable than any of the OEM sort of stuff we're going to look at putting it in it. I did look at doing some other dock boxes like G-Force and such out there. Don't ask me why we ended up here, but here we are! One of the reasons I did end up with a sequential over the G-Force 4-speed was I do, as you know, like to do some circuit racing in this car as well. And the 4-speed was really going to limit us with that. The only way would be able to gear us really, really long to do track days, and that's not ideal. We've got to pick out our ratios, which we've based off what is in the car at the moment, so we should know that we are going to be in peak power band at all times now, and I can shift gears, so fuck, we're winning. It should be better on the motor because I'm no longer going to have to limit a bash entry like I was in South Australia. We might do it for fun here and there, but we don't have to now, and we'll be able to downshift, no worries. So there was plenty of times in the past to save a gear shift, I would just leave it in third gear and beat the ever-living hell out of my clutch. We don't have that drama no more. Obviously, there's a fair bit of work to do. Elijah, Lazaro Motorsport, we're going to be heading there very, very shortly once this is dummy fitted up. He's going to make a gearbox cross member. And we need to plate what you'll see is the massive ass hole. Cooper's really excited for the gearbox too, if you can't tell. But we're going to plate up our trans tunnel, which has a massive opening in it now for the other shifters, and make a mount for this bad boy to go. The cool thing with this is you can pretty much mount it wherever you want it in the car, and it comes with a rod you cut to length, so you can mount it forward, backward, or wherever, and you can always put this where it needs to be. For us, it's probably going to be in the factory location. We obviously need a new tail shaft as well, so we're going to hit up GJ Drivelines and they're going to sort us out a new tail shaft or potentially modify what's in there. If it's going to be long enough, we're going to cut that down. It's using a Porsche 108mm CV for the back output shaft, and Samsonas have supplied us with the adapter plate to the SR20. That uses the same auto bell housing that I'm actually using with the Triton conversion that's been in the car at the moment. So we're going to reuse that with this box, and we'll need a new clutch as well. Let's get it out of the box. Flux capacitor. You probably shouldn't be driving on the road, hey Danny. So we've got a few other things in the box. Our load cell sensor. If we ever want to set up like clutchless flat shifting, that is the way we're going to go about it. We're going to install this within the rod. It basically goes in the middle of it because one day we'll probably add it in there, but it's not going to be straight up. The other things that would need to be wired in, and Robert RM Performance is going to give us a hand with this because I got no idea. But we got to wire up all the gear sensors, like the gear indicator sensor, so it knows what gear it's in to the ECU, which also means we can do cool things like boost by gear. So we can have lower boost in first, second, and ramp it up as we go. If I'm not mistaken, from the looks of our adapter plate, we should be able to bolt the auto bell housing to the plate and bolt that on the car. And it looks like we can remove the box without having to pull the bell housing and everything off, just sort of like your Tremex and T56s. 4 bolts or 8 if you wanted to from the back, so we can pull all this straight off in one go. We'll make this, not that it'll ever have to come out again, ever guys, because it's just bulletproof, but if we had to, it'd be a lot easier of a job. What else have we got in the box? That is our spacer for our tilt and throw it bearing, which is not here because it's off with the people building the clutch. Obviously you notice there's no input shaft in this. These have like detachable input shafts, which is pretty damn cool. And it also means if you ever want to change spline to suit a different car or anything like that, you don't have to change or pull the whole gearbox apart to change the input shaft. They get changed externally, which is cool. So the other thing that we've got, and it's kind of causing me a bit of problems at the moment given the time frame we're on, this is 26 spline GM, the same as T56 and Chev and all that sort of thing, because they're much, much beefier than SR. However, trying to get a clutch, especially a twin plate with the 26 spline, is being a pain in my butt. So we may end up having to swap this out for an SR one to get something in time for Tassie, which is approaching very, very quickly. We'll see what we sort out with that and we'll let you know in future. Rod, which will go for our shifter linkage, and we'll cut that down. The other cool thing about this, if you set these up as an all-wheel drive transmission, there's a transfer case and stuff, but if we're not running all-wheel drive, it's basically set up as a reduction gear, so you can swap 2 gears around. I don't know where these gears are, I'm just going off what I've been told. That basically gears the whole box down or up. It's very exciting stuff, guys. We better go get the auto bell housing and mock this up, and maybe we sit it in the car today. Kind of want to see how it looks in there. True. Rear wheel drive, USB. I didn't actually think there was instructions. There was just this really cool picture of a car for some reason. But it is a USB, so hopefully that's got all the important things that I need to know, like how to make it all work. We'll go plug that in later and get all the fancy details. Bang! This is our auto bell housing that is gonna feel really wrong putting something so grotty onto something so nice. But we'll try and clean this up later, but for now let's mock this thing up. I don't think there's bolts for that. Maybe I could put the USB in a computer and it would tell me all these things. I think go find some bolts. Lots of nuts and bolts. Oh, and a systemized. I don't even know the word for this thing because it's a mess, I'm sorry. Maybe I'll go turn a computer on and put a USB in it and see what it tells me. Alright, we're gonna drill some holes. So we're gonna bolt the adapter plate to our bell housing, but it uses M12 bolts and these look like 11mm holes or 10mm holes, so we're gonna open all those out. It didn't come with bolts to bolt the bell housing on it, so for now, we're gonna use 2 that bolt the box to the adapter plate for now to bolt the bell housing in. So hopefully we can just mock it up there and make sure it works, and then when the bolt shop's open, hopefully tomorrow, we'll go get everything we need. Hopefully I can drill this straight. Get a bit of lube on it. Like a glove. The adapter plate is completely concentric to the inner diameter of this too. So if you were to over drill the holes a little bit, I don't think it would be a problem, but we made that absolutely perfect. Let's bolt that up. I'm not gonna put the input shaft in for now. I just wanna get the gearbox up there so we can make our cross member. And we're gonna have to set all the things like the drive shaft angles for tail shaft and all that at the same time. When you grab a real solid shaft.
Feels nice in my hand.
Yeah, it does. Now that feels legit. Oh, my clutch back went to the floor. Whoops. Dude, the grin on my face is, it's already real, but I can't wait. Samsonas. Bang. Anyway, I'm gonna come back tomorrow and finish stuffing around with a few other things. Alright guys, we're about to take a little bit of a side quest from what I hope is some nice voiceover from Elijah's shop down there. I'm back in the shop right now because I needed to come grab this. We needed our angle finder. Unfortunately, I can't really talk while I'm there because one, there's a bit of music going on and he shares the shop space with a few other people. So I didn't want to get in their way filming or anything like that, but I'm trying to grab some clips for you where I can. We're at the point of setting the drive shaft angles up for the tail shaft and gearbox. And that's something we really need to get perfect. Elijah's in between moving a lot of stuff between his home workshop and that shop right now. He only had the older style magnetic dial type angle finders and it was getting a little bit stuck in lower angle readings. So better safe than sorry, we've come grab our digital one, which is what we use here at work for like pinion angles and all that sort of stuff. Now we're gonna go back down here shop, get the positioning of everything sorted and finalise our gearbox crossmember. And I'd just like to say thanks to Elijah because he's putting in a massive amount of work right now on a Sunday of a long weekend. Got a little bit to go and it's probably gonna be a bit of a late night. So I'm super appreciative of that. So it's hard to set up the cameras at the moment to get everything that we're doing. But I will have the car back on the hoist here at Traction very shortly and we'll show you all the finalised work as well once that's done. I don't know about you, but I absolutely cannot wait to see how this all turns out. But she's in there, holding her own weight.
Yep. Hopefully takes Marcus's abuse.
I feel like that will take the abuse and everything else will break around it. What's up guys? It's about the most exciting night you're going to see in this video and I am super damn keen because we're about ready to put this gearbox in. A lot of stuff has been done off camera because we are under a time crunch. We are less than 1 week until this thing is on a boat to Tassie. I'm working away for the next 2 days, so we had to get a lot of stuff done. Basically everything in the motor side of things and engine bay is done now. We've got our nice new Rakesworks heat tank over the firewall there. One to cover a few little holes here and there because I've blocked off a few holes in the firewall but they're just tacked in there, so make sure we've got a fully sealed firewall. Everything is back connected for the intake manifold. We've got all new filters thanks to Burson Auto Parts. So we've got fuel filter and oil filter. We're going to be putting some oil in this thing today and once the gearbox is in there we're hoping to get this thing fired up and running through some gears. So probably got a few hours to go, but we're getting there. So I've just finished making up our clutch lines. We've got our tilt and slave. All the measurements there have been checked over and we are A-OK, 100% this thing's gonna be mint. So we've got our bleeder line here. It'll be nice and easy off the side once that comes out the bell housing. Oh, speaking of bell housing, we've got exciting news for that, which we'll get into. And then our other line, we've actually got hooked up to a dry brake, which basically you've seen like the V8 supercars, they've got quick disconnect for their brake lines. We've done the same for the clutch. So if we want to disconnect the gearbox for any reason, which we won't be for many moons because it's never coming out again now, but we won't have to worry about draining fluid or cracking the lines and losing fluid. We can literally undo this, pull the box out, if we shove it straight back in and connect that again, we do not have to bleed. So yeah, we're getting to the fancy race car things now. All right, let's go check out what's just been done. Huge shout out to my mate Clive from 1313 Factory because he has gone ahead and powder coated our auto bell housing, our trans cross member made by Lazzaro Motorsports, our shifter linkage and exhaust spanker bracket. So this thing is not going to look as crusty as you would have just seen it before. It's all going to match and look like it was meant to be. Before we went ahead and powder coated it, I did shave off one of the big blocks that was on the side of it to smooth it out. And yeah, I cannot wait to get this thing in there. Let's do it. We'll get a few more bolts in there in a second, but how bloody good does that look? Again, huge shout out to Clive because you would not believe the turnaround time we got on this. We're talking like a couple hours today. It was powder coated and it is back here ready to go in the car. So cannot thank you enough. I know you've been working late lately, so yeah, putting in the hours for me, thank you. I don't think powder coating is something he does very often, but you might hit him up, he might be able to sort something out for you. Alright, so before we can put the box in, we want to get our shifter rod on there, just so we're not trying to fiddle around with it in the car. You'll also notice this fancy little device here. This is our load cell sensor, I believe it is. That is not going to be working immediately because we're going to run out of time, but this is going to allow us in the future to do flat shift cuts. If you've seen the cars banging through gears where they're shooting fireballs out and they're not lifting off the clutch, this is what it all comes down to. So that's going to be wired into the ECU and basically it's going to pick up on a certain amount of load as you pull on the shifter, and it is going to essentially cut the engine power to shock the driveline enough to let it go into gear without putting your foot on the clutch or lifting off the hub. So pretty cool. I'm sure the SR will love it. But yes, for now it's in there, so it's all wired in, but we're gonna set this up a little later down the line. And we're just gonna breather line hooked up, our vacuum line, that's gonna be running up quite high up behind the brake booster in the engine. These apparently don't really throw oil or anything like that, but you definitely need to have it venting still for pressure. So that's gonna be attached, ready to go in. Would not want to do that afterwards. We've also gone ahead and just added in our temperature sensor into the back of the gearbox here. One of the things that is critical on these is that they do not want to be run until they're up to operating temperature, which, you know, probably makes sense for most things, but we're drifters, so 99% of the time we'll go out there, put it in gear and kick the clutch. We don't want to be doing that on this, so we're going to have the temperature sensor wired into ECU. Rob down at Iron Performance Dyno in Pakenham is very graciously helping me wire everything in and set it all up. We're going to set a cut up, so basically the car will hit probably an RPM cut before it's up to temp to stop me getting carried away. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything, because I think we're at the stage of putting this thing in. So unfortunately, I originally thought we were going to have a really good time of putting this in with the bell housing in first and then slide the box up to it, because it does have like a 4-bolt mount style like a T56 if you're familiar with those. So you can slide this in after, but with the way our clutch lines and stuff are, it's not really going to work for us. So we're going to put it in as a complete unit. Either way, it's not that bad. And you might also notice that we've gone ahead and put a new GK Tech overflow bottle, because our other one is all cruddy and it's not worth trying to clean up. So, in the bin. Look. Super stoked that how the engine bay's coming out, especially with everything going around it. And of course that finishing touch is going to be when we can finally see it with that rocker cover back in there. Hope you guys are keen. Alright, I almost forgot, but with that massive gearbox upgrade comes a clutch upgrade. Sequentials, and I guess it's mainly dog boxes in general, so even your G-forces and the likes of that, require a twin plate, because to make the dogs engage properly, they need to be able to slow down the input shaft really fast. And if you don't, you can wear the dog rings out. So luckily we got the information before we went ahead and sent it with our original clutch idea. Either way we're going about it, we had to change clutch. So we had a 27 spline, I think it is, to suit that AR5, so it wasn't even a factory SR. But on top of that, the gearbox that we've got has actually got a 26 spline GM, or like a same as what's like T56, because they are much, much stronger. This gearbox is rated for like 1300 horsepower. It's freaking ridiculous. So anyway, we have had to go ahead and find a clutch at very, very short notice, and luckily we got a Tilton, which is pretty much a universal twin plate. You order them with whichever clutch discs suit your input shaft, and then get a flywheel to suit. So huge shout out to Brad Sheriff from Race Tech, because he managed to get us this in a time frame that would not have been possible on my own through finding it online and shit like that. And shit. I can't remember which bit I stuffed up where I should go from. This flywheel and everything and the whole setup that I really needed was gonna be weeks, if not months to get. A lot of it had, like mainly the flywheel in particular, we're gonna have to get from USA. So I believe from memory he actually bought it from a customer back that he'd sold it to, and is supplying another one. So we are in business now, and yeah, how pro do we look now with the twin plate? Of course, our little R200 behind us there is probably not gonna like us. Our clutch is probably a bit overkill, but you know, we'll see what happens. May put a delay valve in this in the future. I haven't got time to sort that all out at the moment, but fingers crossed, we'll be able to work it all right and not blow everything up. At least I don't have to worry about a gearbox anymore. Did I say how light the actual discs were, or is that what I was?
I don't think you did.
No, I didn't, yeah. So when I say we needed the twin plate, it's not because we needed a big overkill clutch or anything like that. To have the input shaft and the gearbox be able to de-speed essentially when you clutch in or when you go for the shift, to allow the dogs to engage, it needs a super light clutch disc. Any single disc you're gonna find is much, much bigger diameter. So even if you can keep the weight down, the inertia is still way higher than the smaller twin discs. So you'll learn something new every day. Anyway, let's get this gearbox in. Before we put the box up, there's one final check. We've got to check our end float. One, we know that it's going to be good now with our new thrust washers, but we need to make sure that our end float is exactly the same before the gearbox goes in as to after, to make sure that there is no preload against the crank. Because it is an aftermarket input shaft and obviously a whole custom setup, Samsonas literally have a tag on it that say they take no responsibility for anything if that's not checked. So we're going to go ahead and listen to them and check that now. We've set up our dial indicator. Thanks Danny Pezek for loaning me the tools. And basically what we've done is used a rubber mallet on the front of the pump balancer just to tap it in lightly till it's bottomed out. And now you can see we've set this to 0. Is that it? Yep. Gonna put a pry bar behind it and just slowly pull it out until it stops, and we'll see where our crank end float is at. So we have about 0.09 millimeters, which is right on the tighter end of factory spec, as it should be with brand new bearings. So once we get the box back in here, we're gonna recheck that. We should be all good. We've done a lot of measurements with our pilot bushing, diameters of everything. It's definitely got less clearance than factory in terms of there's a lot of depth into the motor, and the taper actually gets really close to the crank. But based on everything we've done, we should be good, but that'll confirm it once the box is in. Not fun times, people. Not gonna lie, we have struggled very hard to get this stupid gearbox in. Obviously the bell housing fits in without input shaft, but now with the box attached to everything, going far enough back to get the input shaft in, we can't get the bell housing high enough. We tried putting the bell housing on separately, and as annoying as it is, feeding the clutch lines through the bell housing and then trying to shove the gearbox in that way. That didn't work by about 10 millimeters because the input shaft hit the back of fingers of the clutch, and we couldn't go far enough in to get the clutch line fittings past that bell housing adapter. So that failed, and now we're currently at the point of dropping the frickin' subframe onto our trolley and tyre. Try and lower the whole motor assembly just to get this frickin' gearbox in, and of course it means we're going to be trying to lift the gearbox up at like shoulder height crawling, and with no trans jack. So that's gonna be fun. Yeah, we should have been like putting oils in and setting shift stops and, you know, running our motor in and making sure that our rebuild went all good. And this is the crap cars give you sometimes. So it basically means the only way that this gearbox would ever be serviceable in my car is if we modified the tunnel. We would actually have to make a new section around the tunnel, around the bell housing, so we had a heap more room. I'm guessing maybe the fact it's a longer input shaft than what the AR5 was, for one thing. Like, it's been a while since it's as long as a stock SR21, which is decently long, but the bell housing on a manual SR20 tapers quite aggressively. We've seen it compared to our auto bell housing, which, if you obviously know autos, you can do the torque converter and you can pretty much drop it straight away. So we're having fun. I don't even know if this is gonna work, but let's see. Take 1 million.
Not doing a thing.
It's not doing a thing. It's very close. But I loosened all the engine mounts and all the subframe mounts, so everything's probably not quite aligned how it was before. As I mentioned.
Why did you just lie? Wishes he was asleep.
You filming through a phone or? It's a few hours later, guys. The freaking gearbox is in the car. I can't remember what we filmed, but we ended up dropping the motor on the crossmember onto the table, and then I can't wait. How did we end up getting it in? I can't remember now. Oh no! So then we ended up going back in the air, dropping the crossmember with the motor onto the trans jack. After making a slide hammer section, which is somewhere over there, to pull the input shaft back out, to undo all the plate for the clutch, so we could reline up the splines and the pilot bearing, which was done. The freaking input shaft was all the way into the bottom of the pilot bearing last time, and for some reason, taking it out, taking it did make a difference. It's so tight on those splines. Like, the clutch disc is literally hard to put onto the spline out of the car, let alone when you've got two lined up with the clamp load and everything. So I don't know if it was like 0.0001 out and we couldn't get it in there, but then it's in the car. I'm not gonna say it still wasn't easy even doing all of that. Not that it sounds easy, it wasn't. Who thought of putting a gear? I thought we'd be putting oil in the motor and oil in this and like definitely be starting to like run the car through the gears now. not having just successfully put a gearbox in after what feels like probably 5 hours, and probably was 5 hours. So yeah, and obviously we're trying to do what we can to make sure we're taking care of it at the same time. But every time we lifted the gearbox up, it just got heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And we struggled. But it's in guys. Can't say it enough. It's bloody in. It won't come out very easily, but it's in. Yeah, so we're gonna have to do, after Tasmania, we are 100% gonna probably pull the motor and box as one out the top. I really didn't want to do that because I mean, honestly, it may have been faster now after going through that ordeal, but I'd only just put all the fuel lines, the wiring looms back through everything and like put the motor together. So I really didn't want to undo all that, but that may have been easier. So we're gonna do all that next time, cut the whole trans tunnel apart, and you know, just when I think I'm gonna have a car that I might not have to touch in between rounds, we're definitely gonna be pulling entirely apart again. I'm gonna put I'm gonna put a Chris member in this. I'm gonna put a cross member in right now so that it's mounted solidly, and then probably go home and die for at least 3 hours worth of sleep to come back to work tomorrow. Look at it. Everything is tip-top on A1. Ding dong. Oh, we get to try out our freaking dry brake. That's going to be the finishing touch today, guys. Oh, yeah. Next minute doesn't work. Ugh. What am I doing? Oh, look at that. Look at that. We're profesh. Very much race car. Ran a burn of 5 seconds of energy before I go home, guys. We're gonna wrap this video up here. I am gonna do what I can before I leave tomorrow, and then still have to worry about this when we get back. Will we make it in time? You might have to stay tuned for the next video, because as much as I hoped it was gonna be done in this one, it ain't! And we're running out of time. But we will keep pressing on as much as our bodies and minds will let us, and we'll see you in the next one.